Okay, so then you must have at some point seen the for you hateful content. I'm asking for one example.
Right.
And you can't give a single one.
And I'm saying...
Then I say, sir, that you don't know what you're talking about.
Really?
Yes, because you can't give me a single example of hateful content, not even one tweet. And yet you claimed that the hateful content was high.
Well...
That's a false.
No, what I
You just lied.
Hi, I'm Nat. Today I want to go over the Elon Musk interview with BBC that went viral a few days ago. In this interview, Elon Musk was surprised by interviewer James Clayton at the Twitter headquarters and essentially sat down for an impromptu interview. This is what happened, and afterwards I want to explain why it resonated with so many people. So let's watch it first.
Very recently who were involved in moderation, and they just say there's not enough people to police this stuff, particularly around hate speech in the company. Is that
what hate speech are you
address?
talking about? I mean, you use Twitter.
Right.
Do you see a rise in hate speech?
I mean,
But just a personal anecdote, like what do you? I don't.
Personally, my for you, I would see I get more of that kind of content. Yeah, personally, but I'm not going to talk to the rest of for the rest of Twitter.
So you
But
see more
personally,
hate speech personally.
I would say I would see more hateful content in that.
Content you don't like or hateful? What do you mean to describe a hateful thing?
Yeah, I mean, you know, just content that will solicit a reaction, something that may include something that is slightly racist or slightly sexist, those kinds of things.
So you think if something is slightly sexist, it should be banned?
No,
Is that what you're saying?
I'm not saying anything. I'm saying.
Well, I'm just curious. I'm trying to understand what you mean by hateful content. And I'm asking for specific examples. And you just said that if something is slightly sexist, that's hateful content. Does that mean that it should be banned?
Well, you've asked me whether my feed, whether it's got less or more. I'd say it's got slightly more.
That's why I'm asking for examples. Can you name one example?
I honestly don't use. Honestly, I
You
don't.
can't name a single example.
I'll tell you why. Because I don't actually use that for you feed anymore. Because I just don't particularly like it.
But you
And
said
actually, a lot of people are quite similar. I only look at
hang on a second.
following.
You said you've seen more hateful content, but you can't name a single example, not even one.
I'm not sure I've used that feed for the last 3 or 4 weeks. And
Well, then how did you see that hateful content?
Because I've been using Twitter since you've taken it over for the last 6 months.
Okay, so then you must have at some point seen the for you hateful content. I'm asking for one example.
Right.
And you can't give a single one.
And I'm saying...
Then I say, sir, that you don't know what you're talking about.
Really?
Yes, because you can't give me a single example of hateful content, not even one tweet. And yet you claimed that the hateful content was high.
Well...
That's a false.
No, what I claimed...
You just lied.
What I claimed was... there are many organizations that say that that kind of information is on the rise. Now, whether it has on my feed
Give me one
or
example.
not, I mean, right, and
Literally
if you
can't
look at
name
something
one.
like the Strategic Dialogue Institute in the UK, they will say that. So
Look, people will say all sorts of nonsense. I'm literally asking for a
Right.
single example, and you can't name one.
right, and as I already said, I don't use that feed. But
Well, then how would you know that?
I don't think this is getting anywhere.
You literally said you experienced more hateful content, and then couldn't name a single example.
Right, and as I said,
That's absurd.
I haven't actually looked at that feed.
Then how would you know
this
there's hateful content?
Because I'm saying that's what I saw a few weeks ago. I can't give you an exact example. Let's move on. We only have a certain amount of time.
And there it is, the exact specific examples of why these people that call themselves journalists aren't really journalists anymore. Because you're a journalist, you're going in to interview Elon Musk, and you have this point you want to make about hateful content being more prevalent on Twitter since he took over, because this is a narrative that has been said over and over again even before he took over Twitter. And when asked, give me one specific example that isn't slightly sexist or slightly racist, you can't even give one. And this is what every single journalist actually faces when confronted with someone that will dispute anything they say. I would say there's even a concerted effort to keep it this way. What is ISD Global? And let's see who funds it, because every time you follow the money, you'll get the bigger picture of why certain things are the way they are. Glenn Greenwald, who is an actual journalist who essentially got kicked out of the mainstream because he was telling too much truth, and not the truth that they wanted, says after getting caught red-handed, repeatedly lying, this BBC reporter finally pretends he has no view, even though he came in with a very strong view that there's hate speech everywhere and slightly misogynistic and slightly racist. Well, who defines what hate speech is? the people at ISD Global do. It's just repeating the claims of ISD Global that maligns Twitter as being more hateful. And as we should always do, Glenn Greenwald goes in and says, "These who funds ISD Global follow the money." Well, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation do. They also fund a lot of journalism schools, especially the Ivy League ones. The Omidyar Group, the Open Society Foundations, which is George Soros. A lot of foreign multilateral organizations, foreign governments, a lot of the governments that were patrolling and controlling people over the past 3 years of lockdown about things that they could and couldn't say online. More governments, more governments, more governments, the US State Department, Homeland Security. Oh, and look, the competitors for Twitter: Facebook, Google, Google.org, Microsoft, YouTube. Their institutions have become in control of the fact checkers and all of these institutions and organizations that verify the truth. But what is the truth? Well, it is the truth that they're giving you. It is the truth that those in power and those that have the means to shape it have and want you to believe. Thank you for watching, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.